In the heart of Austin, a young woman's life changes in a single moment. When Emily's wheelchair breaks on a crowded street, everyone walks past, except one. Mechanic. What starts as a simple repair turns into an unforgettable act of kindness and a transformation she never expected. Like, share and subscribe and tell us where you're watching from. Now let's get started. Emily Carter had lived in Austin, Texas for 3 years, long enough to understand the rhythm of the city, the sound of traffic at rush hour, the smell of street food carts, the unpredictable Texas weather that could shift moods within minutes. Yet today felt unusually heavy. Her shift at the downtown bookstore had ended, with her manager asking her to take on extra hours she wasn't sure her body could handle. By the time she wheeled herself out onto the sidewalk, the sky was already fading into shades of orange and purple, and she just wanted to go home. The streets buzzed with people heading to dinner, bars, and late-night events, but Emily moved carefully, used to navigating uneven sidewalks and bumps that others never noticed. Her wheelchair wasn't new, and every day it seemed to pick up a new rattle or squeak. She told herself it would survive a little longer. Repairs were expensive, insurance slow, and money tight. She pressed forward, focusing on the familiar route home, when suddenly the front wheel hit a crack in the pavement. A sharp snap echoed, followed by the sickening tilt of her chair lurching sideways. Her heart jumped as she grabbed the armrests to keep herself steady. She felt the chair sag as if it had lost all strength, and when she tried to move again, it didn't budge. Panic washed over her. The wheel hadn't just bent, it had completely broken off the frame. She looked around, hoping someone might notice her distress, but Austin's foot traffic rushed past with people glued to their phones or hurrying toward their evening plans. Her breath wavered, a knot forming in her throat. She hated feeling helpless, hated needing help at all. Emily reached into her bag for her phone, but the screen stayed black. Dead battery, of course. She had forgotten to charge it during her shift. A shaky exhale slipped out as frustration mixed with fear. She knew she couldn't walk, couldn't push herself, couldn't even crawl to safety. She was stuck on a public sidewalk, frozen in a sea of strangers. For a moment she let her eyes drop to the broken wheel beside her, its metal warped like something defeated. The sight made her chest ache. Her wheelchair wasn't just equipment, it was her independence. Minutes passed slowly, each one stretching longer than the last. Emily felt the first sting of tears forming, though she blinked them back quickly. She never liked crying in public. It made her feel exposed, fragile, and she worked hard to avoid appearing that way. But the fear of being stranded as daylight faded made her hands tremble. Cars rushed by on the street, lights flickering, the sound of engines drowning out her small attempts to call for help. Her voice vanished into the noise. She felt invisible, and that hurt more than the broken chair. Just when she was ready to attempt sliding herself toward a nearby bench, a dangerous and painful idea, a shadow shifted in front of her. Boots stepped into her line of sight. She looked up and saw a man kneeling down, his expression soft but focused. His hands were rough, stained with grease, and his dark brown hair was tied back loosely as if he had been working moments before. His presence felt surprisingly steady, like the world had finally paused. "Hey," he said gently, "you okay? I saw the wheel give out." His voice carried a calm warmth she instantly clung to. Emily opened her mouth, but her voice came out shaky. "My chair, it just broke. I can't move it, and my phone died." She hated how small her voice sounded. The man nodded, not judging, not pitying, just listening. He moved closer, examining the broken wheel with careful hands. "Name's Jake," he said. "I'm a mechanic. Not the car kind. Well, sometimes the car kind, but mostly machines, bikes, tools, basically anything with moving parts." He gave a tiny smile, one that softened his rough features. "Mind if I take a look? I won't touch anything without asking." Something about his tone, respectful, patient, made Emily exhale for the first time in minutes. "Please," she whispered, relieved. Jake crouched lower, lifting the broken wheel, turning it in his hands, his brow furrowed, not out of frustration but concentration. "Yeah, this isn't something you can wheel home on. Axles cracked. Clean through." He glanced up. "But you're lucky. My workshop is half a block away." Emily blinked, startled. "You have a workshop here?" Jake nodded. "Yeah, small garage. I fix things people toss out, and I can fix this too, if you're okay with that." Emily hesitated, not because she didn't trust him, but because kindness always scared her a little. She wasn't used to people offering help without expecting anything in return. "I don't have money on me," she admitted quietly. Jake shrugged with an easy grin. "Didn't ask for any." He stood, lifting her wheelchair as if it weighed nothing. "I'll carry it, but I can bring you a spare chair from inside, so you're not stuck here." Emily blinked again, unsure how to process the sincerity in his voice. No one had ever responded to her struggles with such instinctive care before. Jake returned moments later with a temporary wheelchair, gently helping Emily transfer without making her feel helpless. He didn't rush, didn't make her feel weak, just supported her in the safest way possible. As they moved toward his workshop, Emily felt a strange mixture of exhaustion and comfort settling in her chest. The city lights glowed warmer now, and the air felt less heavy. She glanced at Jake walking beside her, pushing her broken chair effortlessly. For the first time that evening, she felt the tightness in her chest loosen, as if hope had slipped quietly back into her world. Inside Jake's small garage, the scent of metal, oil, and warm machinery filled the air. Tools hung neatly on the walls, parts and projects half-finished sat on. Workbenches and music hummed softly from a radio in the corner. The space felt honest, like every bolt and screw had a story. Jake set her broken wheelchair carefully on the center table, treating it with surprising gentleness. Emily watched him roll up his sleeves, revealing strong arms marked with tiny scars from years of labor. As he examined the damage in better light, he murmured, "Don't worry, I'm going to make this right." And for the first time that day, Emily believed someone. Jake adjusted the overhead lamp, flooding the workbench with warm light as he examined the damaged wheelchair. Emily watched from the spare chair nearby, her hands resting tightly in her lap. She still couldn't wrap her mind around the fact that someone had stopped for her, someone who cared enough to carry a broken chair half a block and offer help without hesitation. Jake worked with a quiet, focused intensity, his brow knit as he inspected each bolt and a joint. "This thing's been through a lot," he murmured, not in judgment but in a way that showed respect for what the chair represented. Emily bit her lip, feeling a mix of embarrassment and gratitude. "I've had it for years," she said softly. "Insurance is slow, and repairs cost too much." Jake nodded, as if he understood every unspoken sentence, every frustration she'd felt, every moment she'd hidden her struggles because the world didn't always make space for them. He removed the broken wheel and held the cracked metal under the light. "Good news," he said. "I can replace this. Better than that, I can upgrade it, make it safer, smoother." Emily blinked in surprise. "Upgrade? Jake, I didn't ask for—" He looked back at her, expression gentle. "I know you didn't, but I want to." The sincerity in his voice made her chest tighten. She wasn't used to generosity that expected nothing in return. He walked to a cabinet, pulling out new parts, shock-absorbing wheels, reinforced axles, and a small box filled with polished components she couldn't name. "These are things people donate," he explained. "They break something small, throw the whole thing away. I salvage what I can." He grinned lightly. "Rebuild the rest. Waste is a mechanic's playground." Emily let out a soft laugh, surprised by how easy he made everything feel. He began disassembling the old frame, cleaning each joint with careful precision. Emily noticed how he treated every part like it mattered, like he understood that this wasn't just metal, it was her legs, her freedom, her dignity. "How long have you been doing this?" she asked as he worked. Jake shrugged lightly without pausing. "Since I was a kid. Grew up fixing things because my family couldn't afford replacements. Guess the habit stuck." He glanced up briefly. "Machines make sense. To me, people sometimes less." Emily smiled faintly. "You seem pretty good with people." Jake chuckled. "Just you, apparently." As minutes turned into an hour, Emily found herself relaxing, the stress of the evening slowly melting away. She studied Jake. While he worked, the small frown he wore when concentrating, the way he hummed along with the radio, the gentleness hidden behind his rough hands. The garage felt strangely safe, filled with the scent of oil and warm metal, like a place where broken things came to be made whole again. Emily wondered when she had last felt this kind of calm. She wasn't sure she ever had. Watching Jake made her feel seen in a way she couldn't explain, like someone finally understood. Jake wiped sweat from his forehead before crouching to install the new wheels. "These will absorb shock," he said. "Cracks in the sidewalk won't bother you anymore." He tightened each bolt with firm, steady hands. "You'll glide smoother. Less pressure on your shoulders, too." Emily stared in disbelief. "Most mechanics wouldn't bother with all that," Jake shrugged. "Most don't see what you deal with every day." He hesitated, then added, "I worked with veterans for a bit. Fixed mobility chairs. I know how much independence rides on these things." His voice softened. "You deserve something reliable, something that doesn't break when life hits a bump." Once the wheels were in place, he moved to the back, attaching a small set of LED lights. Emily blinked. "Lights," he smiled. "Safety. Drivers don't always see wheelchairs at night. These will help." The lights glowed softly, casting faint reflections around the garage. Jake stepped back, admiring his work for a moment. Almost done. He turned to a drawer and pulled out a small, sleek control panel. "This will make the motion smoother, takes pressure off your hands." Emily stared at him, overwhelmed. "Jake, this is too much." He shook his head. "No, this is what you should have had from the beginning." When he finally finished, he rolled the upgraded wheelchair toward her. It looked completely transformed, stronger, smoother, almost brand new. Emily felt her throat close as she studied the polished frame and enhanced features. She couldn't remember the last time she felt excited about something as simple as moving. Jake smiled softly. "Ready to try it?" Emily nodded, her hands trembling slightly. Jake helped her transfer into the chair, careful, patient, making sure she felt steady before letting go. The moment she placed her hands on the wheels and moved, she gasped. The chair glided effortlessly, smooth like air had replaced the ground beneath her. She rolled across the garage, turning, stopping, starting again, marveling at how light and fluid everything felt. For the first time in years, she didn't have to fight the chair to move. It felt like flying. A laugh escaped her, uncontrolled, genuine, bubbling from a place she hadn't accessed in a long time. Jake watched her with quiet pride, arms crossed, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Feels better, right?" Emily nodded quickly, eyes bright. "This is unbelievable." She moved again, spinning lightly before stopping in front of him. "Jake, I don't know how to thank you." Jake rubbed the back of his neck, suddenly shy in a way she hadn't seen before. "You don't have to thank me. Seeing you move like that, honestly, it's enough." Emily held his gaze, sensing the honesty behind his words. Something about him, his modesty, his kindness, touched her deeper than she expected. He stepped forward, adjusting a small part on the armrest. "There's one more thing," he whispered. Emily looked down, noticing a tiny metal plate he had attached. It read, "Keep moving forward." Her breath caught. She felt emotion well up instantly, caught between gratitude, disbelief, and something warmer she wasn't ready to name. The moment Emily traced her fingers over the tiny engraved plate, her breath trembled. She had been holding herself together all evening, through the breakdown, through the fear, through the unexpected kindness, but this small detail shattered the last of her restraint. Tears welled up instantly, spilling down her cheeks before she could stop them. She covered her mouth, overwhelmed. Jake froze, unsure if he had crossed a line. "Hey, did I do something wrong?" He asked softly, voice careful, worried he had pushed too far. Emily shook her head quickly, unable to speak. It wasn't wrong. It was everything she never expected. She finally managed a shaky breath. "No, Jake, you did something no one ever has." Her voice cracked mid-sentence, the weight of years settling into her words. He took a slow step closer, but stopped just far enough to give her space. Emily wiped her face, embarrassed but unable to hide her tears. "People don't usually think about things like this," she said, running her thumb over the engraving. "They fix what's broken, maybe, but they don't make it better. They don't add pieces that mean something." Jake's expression softened, as if her words filled gaps inside him he didn't know were there. Jake crouched beside her, not touching the chair, just meeting her at eye level. "Emily, you deserve more than bare minimum fixes. You deserve things that help you feel safe, things that make your life easier." His voice was steady, sincere. "You deserve people who actually care." Emily looked at him, stunned by the quiet conviction in his tone. It had been so long since someone treated her needs as important, without hesitation, without pity. "Why?" she whispered. The question wasn't meant to challenge him, but to understand him. Jake hesitated, searching for the right words, his gaze dropping for a moment. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a hint of vulnerability she hadn't heard before. "Because I know what it feels like when life breaks something you depend on, and I know what it's like to wish someone, anyone, would step in and help without making you feel like a burden." Emily felt the truth in his words, heavy and human. She wanted to ask more, but Jake stood up, clearing his throat. "Come on," he said gently. "Let's test it outside. Real sidewalk, real bumps." Emily nodded, grateful for the shift. She wasn't ready to pry into his past, not yet, but she wanted to understand him more. They rolled out of the garage into the warm Austin night. The sky was painted with deep blues and scattered stars, the city glowing with distant neon lights. Emily pushed forward, expecting resistance, but the chair moved like silk, gliding over rough pavement as if it were smooth marble. She gasped again, louder this time, laughing through the remnants of her tears. The wheels handled cracks effortlessly. The LED lights cast a gentle glow on the ground, making her feel safer than she had ever felt traveling at night. "Jake, this is unbelievable," she whispered. He watched her with a proud, quiet satisfaction. Emily rolled farther down the block before turning around and coming back to him. Her smile was wide, bright, unfiltered. She felt lighter, physically, emotionally, completely. "Jake, you didn't just fix my chair," she said. "You changed everything about how it feels to move." He shrugged, though his smile betrayed pride. "You deserve mobility that doesn't fight you." She studied him, noticing things she hadn't noticed earlier. The softness in his eyes, the way he watched her not out of fascination, but safety, like he wanted to make sure she never struggled again. It made her chest warm in a way she couldn't explain. As they stood outside the garage, a comfortable silence fell between them. Cars rolled by at a distance, music floated faintly from open restaurant doors, and the Texas night breeze carried a warm softness. Emily didn't want the moment to end. She looked at Jake, her voice gentler. "Why did you stop for me tonight? Most people walked past." Jake inhaled slowly, hands slipping into his pockets. "Because you looked like you needed someone," he said simply, "and I know what it's like when nobody stops." Emily felt something shift inside her. Recognition, connection, something deeper taking root beneath the surface. She wheeled closer, her voice steady. "I'm glad it was you." The words surprised even her, but they felt right. Jake looked at her with a mixture of surprise and something warmer. "Me too," he murmured. The air between them felt charged, not romantic yet not rushed, just meaningful. Jake cleared his throat, breaking the tension gently. "Do you live far? I can walk you home if you want." Emily hesitated at first, but then nodded. "I'd like that." As they started moving down the sidewalk together, her rolling, him walking, Emily realized her fear from earlier had transformed into something entirely different. The walk to her apartment felt shorter than usual. They talked about small things, her job at the bookstore, his projects in the garage, stories from Austin, memories that shaped them. Nothing felt forced. Everything felt strangely natural, as if the universe had nudged their paths together at the perfect moment. When they reached her building, Emily turned to face him, unsure how to end the night. "Jake, thank you for everything." He looked down for a moment, then back at her. "You don't have to thank me," he said softly. "Just keep moving forward. That's all I want to see." Emily smiled, touched in a way she couldn't articulate. She reached out, gently resting her hand on his arm. "Good night, Jake." He swallowed, nodded slightly. "Good night, Emily." As she rolled into the building, she looked back one last time. Jake stood under the streetlight, hands in his pockets, watching her with that same quiet warmth. And she knew, deep in her heart, that this night wasn't the end of their story. It was only the beginning of something she never thought she would find. Kindness, connection, and the unexpected possibility of someone who saw her not as broken, but as someone worth showing up for.